Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
You feel, however, that we're making progress in this country and worldwide?
No. I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull the knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
You haven't.
Hey, John, what do you want us to take away from this extraordinary series of yours?
Well, I want people who are not Latin to have Latin envy and wish they had been born Latin, and for Latin people to realize, damn, being Latin is a superpower, man. I mean, the things that we've suffered in this country, 500 years, our wealth was stolen from us. We were lynched. We were burned, shot alive. We've been the only American citizens that have ever been deported by the millions. And yet we contribute and we build and we thrive.
To me, if you have been here for 5 years and you do not have a criminal record, you will be able to go on the dignity status for 7 years.
That status is like a probation period.
You will not be deported. You will not lose your assets. You can work anywhere in the country. You will pay taxes.
And there would be an additional tax.
A new levy of 1.5 withholding called the dignity levy will be held from your paycheck. You will not have access to any government program and will have to buy your own health insurance.
And another charge.
You will pay $700 a year for 7 years, and that adds up to around $5,000. Those $5,000 will represent around $45 billion.
This is provided that the undocumented immigrants total 10 million, but there are more.
And that fund will go to pay for border security. The other bucket of money, the 1.5, will go to re-educate or retrain any American who believes that he or she has lost his opportunity, his job opportunity, to an undocumented.
Some of the other legislators who support the bill said they are aware that it is not perfect. They said it's better than doing nothing.
Various groups, feminists, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks. We've done to the immigrants. We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country. Crafts are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
Doing a great job with the heart these days.
You're late again, Eddie.
I know what you've been trying to do. You ain't gonna do it. See, Big Red done pulled my coattail to you a long, long time ago.
That's bullshit, Eddie. You talking crazy.
Crazy like a mother fox. And you, I can see through your jive ass like glass, nigga.
Eddie, you got it all wrong, man.
Stealing my moves. My style, nigga. Even trying to riff like me.
Hey man, why don't you get your boy out of here and detox him?
You on my spot, Flash? Slum dwelling, scum sucking, slug ass motherfucker. You on my spot, Flash? Huh? Well, you ain't gonna get it, cause you ain't got it.
He's the kind of boy seems innocent, Boogie. Got everybody on the post thinking he's a strong black buck. White boys envy his strength, his speed, power in his swing. Then this colored champion lets those same white boys call him Shine or Sambo.
Whoa, Lord.
And he just smiles.
Dream about the time when I was a little boy.
Can't talk.
The night would get
Can barely read or write his own name. And don't care. He'd tell you they like him. Or that colored folks ain't supposed to have but so much sense.
Yes, he would.
You know the damage one ignorant Negro can do. We were in France in the First War. We'd won decorations. But the white boys had told all them French gals that we had tails. Then they found this ignorant colored soldier. Paid him to tie a tail to his ass and run around half naked making monkey sounds. They put him on a big round table in the Cafe Napoleon. Put a reed in his hand, crown on his head, blanket on his shoulders, and made him eat bananas in front of all them Frenchies. Oh, the white boys danced that night. Passed out leaflets with that boy's picture on it. Called him Moonshine, King of the Monkeys. And when we slit his throat, you know that fool asked us what he had done wrong. My daddy told me we got to turn our backs on his kind, Wilkie. Close our ranks to the chitlins, the collard greens, the cornbread style. We are men, soldiers. And I don't intend for our race to be cheated out of its place of honor and respect in this war because of fools like CJ. You watch everything he does. Everything.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press to rewrite history or retell history, and since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's truth.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy. Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. This
Welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is We Up Report. On a Tuesday night, who would have thought that Mr. Blows Your Minds We Up Report would come on a Tuesday night? I want to thank each and every one of you who came in here tonight, who's seeing it live. Was good to all of you. First and foremost, before we get all that, for those who always give some contribution to the show, we must always give our thanks to them. First and foremost, we got to go to this brother here. For the last show we had, we got Mr. Spencer 0620. Once again, the most thoroughest subscriber in the game of YouTube. We always appreciate it, me, my family, and I, and We Up team are always thankful for what you do and you continue to do. Thank you, brother, as the kind of subscribers that most shows would love to have. And those who do support shows, this is what keep us going for the things that happen in the background. So we always thankful. Once again, Mr. Spencer 0620, we thank you for your cash app. Now, some of y'all are new to the show. Again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. Been around for over 12 years, y'all. But you never heard of me because I'm the most suppressed show. Everybody talk about how their show is shadow banned and they have all that. No. You ain't been through what I've been through. Ain't no way mathematically possible you be in this business as long as I've been in and can't get 100 views after being in as long as I've been doing. So it must be something that I'm talking about, something that I show do that somebody on the top said, no, not this one, anything but that. So anyway, you should happen to go down the aisle, see something to make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. Some of you might have seen the title of the show. Some of you might have seen the thumbnail of the show. But what you talking about today, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, I was actually going to wait till my normal Sunday, but I think that by the time Sunday roll around, it might be a little bit, some other stuff going to happen by the time we get to there. So I want to get this opportunity here to go ahead and get into it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take it from here. So what we going to talk about, Mr. Blows Your Minds? Chicago to vote sanctuary cities out, or Chicago to vote out sanctuary cities. Okay? We know Chicago has been in the news about the so-called migrant that we call undocumented or illegal immigrants, and New York in itself. But on this particular show, we're going to talk about Chicago and some of the histories that deal with, as the description told you, those are the things we're going to be embarking on as we lay this out. Now, when you say sanctuary, again, this is a big topic, is because if you're an avid watcher over here, I always talked about, remember in Trading Places, you had Mortimer and Duke Randolph, right? Remember them two, right? Mortimer and Duke. Put that up on the screen for me there, right? Yeah, Mortimer and Duke. And that would be like the architects, the ones who were behind the curtain. So there's something that must be happening that is something to do with some kind of bet, some kind of deal, some kind of design that some of us, we can discern a little bit. We're trying to figure out, well, what's really going on? The influx of people due to whatever situations. But in this particular show, I'm going to try to lay out some things that I know many of us thought we understood the game. Now, you got to ask yourself like this. Now, anybody who happen to be in here that may be of the peopling who come from immigration and parents may be from another land, or you yourself may be, we are not anti-immigrant. We're not anti-anybody. We are pro for Black Americans, indigenous, indigenous, needing more, all the above, Black umbrella that we call Black Americans. I know it's not politically correct. I know it's not lawfully correct, but we know what we're talking about. And some people have a stickler and want to be particulars when it comes to that, but we know who we're talking about. So again, it's not about what you call me, it's what I answer to. So in this sense, I want to say that, we who've been here from the inception of the country that they call the United States, and even before there's many of us who believe and have known and gone through our families to find out that the story that's been told to us when it pertains to the history that's told here, there's different facets of people who that may pertain to and maybe not be everyone. So depending on each and every individual. So I went 8 before I came, and that's why it's late. So I'm a little bit tongue-tied, but we're going to get through it. And so we all deal with this situation a little bit different, depending on your background and how your ordeal and families and generations, really got here. So for those who have that long lineage and history, we see that there's something manifesting itself. They say if it quack like a duck, if it look like a duck, it must be a duck. But we can't quite put our finger on what it is. We see it, we're hearing about it. Many people may think that it's not appropriate that we talk about these situations because they believe that, well, immigration is part of the game when you talk about running a nation, and okay, that might be. But when a people on the history of ours have gone through the storms, thorns, and stripes to finally get to a place that we're trying to get a little bit more mature than we were yesterday, then it seems that another glass ceiling or encasement happens, and we see it's like being encased in let's say a casket that's made out of plexiglass or glass. You can see, right? But you encased and you can't get out. And you can see everything manifesting and people moving and doing, but somehow really that's something that prohibits you from getting. Some people think they have the answer. They say that when they look at each other, they blame that the situation is based on because we have a lack there of drive and effort, that somehow that people really don't want nothing. But ask yourself again, who doesn't want anything? Maybe they may not want to work as hard or put in more effort. Again, look at my show here, been in the business for 12 years. Many people would have been done quit. Can't get 100 views no matter. Go back and look at the next 4 or 5 years straight. Impossible that if I come on at least once a week, that every video I do is all at 100. Couldn't get 30 likes. Then they done drop down to can't get 20 likes. So while y'all here, if you haven't already, go ahead and I'm gonna say thumb mob that like button, huh? Go ahead and thumb mob it, right? Go ahead, thumb mob it, right? That's that. Well, you heard that from here, thumb mob it, right? So with that being said, so that means that under these circumstances that one must persevere in order to endure. But that's kind of who we are in this land. So we done seen many moons and suns and see that when we see situations, by us being here in this situation, some of us have that discerning eye and third eye and can discern and see things, and we're kind of like the watchman on the tower, and we're saying, hey, it's not looking good. There's something that we see down the road that, let's say if we take the words of Martin Luther King said, the burning building. Is the burning building now manifesting itself? Is that what we're seeing? We see the smoke. Well, we see the smoke. We see the fire, right? but it's just not haven't caught to, let's say if you was in a building and it just haven't got to your door yet. Are we seeing it? Or some people felt like they've already have good preparations and got the rainy day fund. They had all their stuff stored and ready. But we have to look at it like, well, maybe what's happening got something to do with somebody's plan. A lot of us like to believe that a lot of the things that made people who come from other lands come to this place is due to our ancestors and forefathers put in that work so that they can get things. But I'm here to tell you from my observation and understanding and research, when you understand the game of immigration, they already got rights. It comes in packages, intertwined in that whole game. So for to say that we did that, then we were selling ourselves out because we believe as a good neighbor, Black folks is there. You know, let me say that one more again. As a good neighbor, Black folks is there. Right? We believe that, right? We believe we like Allstate. Everybody in trouble, here we come, lay out the blanket, lay ourselves, we sacrifice for them. But that maybe that was all game. And maybe that was all game, but we didn't see it like it was game. And so now we see, and then a lot of us have children and grandchildren and so forth. And we have to look at the future and say, well, where do they fit in this new paradigm that is about to manifest itself? Some may not even see it that way, depending on your circumstances, you know, how you've, you know, been chosen to be parts of sprocket and springs and nuts and bolts, how you fit into helping to maintain the system. They use your talent. So you may not be in the most the dire situation as others may be. But what are you talking about, Mr. Blood? I hear you talking, but what is you talking about? Well, we're talking about when we talk about this migrants and immigration. And as my intro showed you, and it goes into that scenario, a lot of stuff that was said in there. That I had put that up this year. I haven't always had that one, but I put it up this year, and it kind of was something I put together spirit-wise, and it's kind of laying it out. Those who haven't watched us over here, you know, the more and more you see that, the more and more it's going to make more and more sense to you. Remember, I am the one. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm the first one in the world, but I'm the one in the black corner of YouTube, the corner that the builders reject, that came out in April 1st of 2014 and told you what? The extinction of the white race. Did I not tell you that? Now, I didn't say that because like we're going after to do something. And so, no. That had something to do with the catastrophe, the demographic apocalypse that was going to manifest upon this group. And so if that was 2014 and then somebody decided when that video, can you imagine, here I am today, 2.9 thousand, I just got up to 2,900 last couple of days. But I was already 2,800 back about 2014, 15. When I did that video would be considered viral in this corner that we call the black corner. I already had the viral video that in the corner can't get. You see a lot of brothers and sisters that's doing videos and they're getting to look at the numbers. But to get 300,000 today, I can't get 100. So somewhere it was said, you know, cut that down, and don't know who's seen that. But then now that I hear a lot of people who are talking, you got that from, it came from here. I am the progenitor of that. I am the one that had to take that video down because I laid it out according to the way it was given to me to put together. So now we're living in that time. Next year makes 10 years. So as you, again, as I say, I am a whiteologist, which means again, when you understand, you know, ology, and then the word in front of it, I just kind of study history. And with that being said, so you remember that it was always the Negro scare. Always the Negro scare. And so the Negro scare says, well, we got these issues here. I got a comment here. Let's see, seven spirit, peace, and blessings. What's good to you? Seven spirits in the house. And aboriginality, you should be in the house. What's good to you as well. Glad to see y'all stop by. Right? So Mortimer And Randolph here, whoever that may shall be, whoever they are, right? Like Dave Chappelle said, whoever they are, right? Whoever they are, like they say, being in the desert and you seeing a mirage. Some people see what they see and some don't believe what it is. So we see people coming from other lands and they telling us in destitute, in search because of catastrophe, asylum seeking. All right. We're not the type of people to be like, you know what? Nah, man, we're not gonna help you. We like a good neighbor, Black folks is there. We extend ourselves way beyond more, but sometimes we have a little hard time when it comes to our own. Because sometimes what it is, you can see on panels where we have this boomerang mentality that we always find a way to somehow throw it back on ourselves, even though we see what we see, and then we know what, as history has shown and told us. Now, maybe all of it isn't true, right? Again, teaching, own, and families, we all have different pasts and how that history correlates and connects. But according to what they sell to us, teach us in these institutions, and all the things that have been told, well, again, I always ask the question, tell me the day, the year when it all stopped. They give you a story. They tell you something manifests. But when did the game actually when did slavery stop? If there ever was a slave, because there's some of our people say they people never been slaves. Okay, to each his own, right? So whatever that history entails when it has to deal with us and the way we've been, again, as POWs in this, as we've been POWs in this, and where we are today, and it looks like, well, something is coming that is trying to put us again. I told you the last show, old saying is white folks catch pneumonia, then we would catch cold. Well, what happens when you get put out of that position and swapped and traded, and somebody put in that position? So if they catch the cold, then what do you get? What's left for you? We've seen that the numbers escalating when it comes to homelessness amongst our people, unemployment, and all that other good stuff. Yes, we do have some of our brothers and sisters who are out here they found ways, they found a niche in the system. They found a way in capitalism that worked for them. A lot of them ain't gonna tell you what they do behind closed doors to keep and maintain that, because a lot of us know that we work in places, and a lot of us soft shoeing and walking on eggshells to make sure that you not going in that office at the end, that bullshit about let you work and then come to the office, then fire you. Fuck that. Fire me in the beginning of the morning. Let me go on about my business, right? Don't let me work the damn day and come in there. But you know how sometimes they do that shit, right? You want to get another day's work out of you. Ain't that something? Should be a law against that shit. But again, that law don't really mean nothing. But anyway, but the point I'm saying here is, so let's look at, because Chicago is trying to make they say, we got to do something. They got to do something, because they say this wave that's coming and continue to come and continue to expand itself is encroaching, what they say, like in real estate, say encroaching upon yours, what you believe you were, your portion, your section. I guess there's no such thing as yours. I guess, we'll say, you got to get yours, you got to get mine. Well, what happens when it's too much? Now, then you've been systematically ostracized and kept out. And we got young ones who, and there's a lot of people who are a little older who still can't really articulate what's really going on. We go with the safe, sound good, and to be politically correct, when sometimes it just has to be said for what it really is. A lot of times we don't want to do that. So what I'm saying is, let's look at this. And we'll keep talking about that. I'm glad to see y'all in here. But again, go ahead, thumb that like button if you can for me, because I'm going to go ahead and lay some of this out. So again, you might be new over here. I normally don't even come on to this, but again, I got to do something to see what's up with this algorithm if I come on, because Aboriginal knowledge actually say, you coming on again? Is it a double hitter, huh? Yeah, I'm coming for the double hitter, right? So let's look at this. So Mortimer and them, somebody got a bet. And the bet is, I bet we could do this and pull this off. And let's see how far we run it before we can get them to, let's say, react. Maybe that's what it is. Could be that. Right? Because a lot of people cannot put their finger like, well, you know, it doesn't make logically any sense to flood your own country and then have more people come in who they under destitute and they looking for something, and you're creating the same situation. Well, I think you're going to end up creating a situation. We're starting to see some of it in the news. There's a lot of stories where people are, we're getting to more like in the Wild Wild West, going to be like stagecoach. You got something, walk with a bag. You know what I'm saying? You might get stagecoached out there somehow. So I'm saying this. Look, let's get into this. So, okay, Mortimer and them. Let me show y'all something here. Let's get into this. So we're going to start off with this story here, because remember they just said last week they were talking about in Texas, because something to do in Texas and how that's going to formulate from Texas. And then remember that I think it's Greg Abbott, right? He the one bust his from Texas to Chicago and New York, right? Because they consider themselves to be sanctuary cities. So let me give you a quick fresher up on that report about that 140,000 they were talking about, and we're going to move forward. So listen to this, be right back. Check this out.
Southern border in just the past day. And a reminder of just how dangerous crossing over can be. A 3-year-old boy and another person died this week while trying to cross the Rio Grande River into Texas. We have live team coverage of this border crisis with reports covering the situation from the Texas border to Chicago and New York City. But we want to begin with national correspondent John Moan. He's live in Eagle Pass, Texas. John, what is the situation there on the ground this morning?
The numbers have tapered off substantially, but we have made video of a group of about 40 people waiting just on the other side of that train bridge you see behind me. They are staging there, and they're seeking a gap in all of the concertina wire that the state has put down so they can present themselves to the Border Patrol. Federal authorities saying that the uptick in these crossings is due to a disinformation campaign being spread by the cartels, as well as people becoming more desperate as they're waiting for appointments on the CBP One app, and they're deciding to take a gamble and not wait for the app to work for them. They're crossing illegally and taking their chances.
In El Paso, Texas, more arrivals of undocumented migrants daily. The same goes about 500 miles away down the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass. The reason, says the Border Patrol, migrants are being fed disinformation by cartel-controlled smugglers to cross now.
They're making money with the immigrants. They're making money with the drugs. So, yeah, they jumped at it real fast. And I know this because we have smugglers coming from Houston, Florida, Austin, everywhere to pick up those immigrants. There's a connection there.
The Maverick County Sheriff, whose county encompasses the border town, echoing the Border Patrol's conclusions. The town declared a state of emergency, begging for the state to help cope with the volume of people crossing the river after nearly 6,000 people crossed in 2 days.
We're expending a lot of funds just to get everything under control, so we need the help from our federal and state partners.
The state deploying more razor wire in the riverbanks, and with the local emergency in effect, the mayor telling us troopers have the power to arrest migrants for trespassing in public parks. The mayor says he'll be meeting with officials on the Mexican side in Piedras Negras to find out how many more migrants may try to cross in the next week.
I'm getting numbers of anywhere from 5,000 to 9,000 people that are in Mexico ready to cross into Eagle Pass tomorrow or the next couple days, which is alarming for us. We're a city of 28,000 people. We don't have the capacity or resources.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection shut down one of the international bridges and reallocated customs staff to help the processing of the mass amount of people who crossed. Many migrants are making their way northward by stowing away in Mexican freight trains. One of Mexico's largest freight rail operators, Ferromex, has halted several northbound trains because of rising concerns about the volume of people crossing. Experts say a key difference about this migration surge is that more families with children rather than single adults are migrating from Central and South America. U.S. Customs and Border Protection telling Scripps News in a written statement that human smugglers are spreading disinformation about the border to migrants and are, quote, putting migrants' lives at risk for their own financial gain. Adding, rumors circulating on social media that areas of the southwest border, specifically in the El Paso sector, are open to illegal migration are patently false. Eagle Pass's mayor says politicians on both sides of the aisle need to consider humanitarian concerns.
A 4-year-old drowned and died. Today you had an adult male that drowned in the river. That is sad. Nobody wants to see people suffer, right? That's the last thing that you want to see. But just logistically, a city like Eagle Pass cannot handle this situation.
Here, I have some new information to report just about, the buildup of presence here in the state and the militarization of this area. A couple of days ago, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas angrily tweeted that Border Patrol agents had cut some of the concertina wire against his wishes. But I learned there was good reason for that. There were families struggling in the river, and as I understand, 2 Border Patrol agents apprehended and moved those families away from the water. They cut the razor wire to access the area, consistent with federal immigration law, and they took the group safely into custody. They put the health and safety of their workforce, but also the migrants, especially when conditions are dangerous and people are vulnerable, they put their health and safety at the top. Guys.
Yeah, such a troubling situation.
And Randolph on it, right? So again, as you heard, and then they're talking about the Eagle Pass over in Texas, and that now the story that initially said 140,000, but they said 9,000, up to the 140,000, right? And they said that the reason for this influx that is hurting them through there to come in our direction is because they said that the cartels giving them disinformation. Okay. Right. Okay, so wait a minute. So they're not coming based on seeking asylum? They're not coming because of refugeeism? They're not for disinformation. Really? I didn't know if that was part of the game. And see, we as Americans in this country, we really don't know too much about the immigration game. Why would we need to know that? Now, again, unless you cut from the cloth like I am and many of us who come from, long generations of being here in this country, and from the inception of the United States and even before then, we know nothing about immigration. Now, some people may be in here, maybe a generation or 2, 3, maybe 4, right? So you may have people in your family and so forth who you got some paperwork on file somewhere about somebody who originated and came here. So the average person that is an American that don't have anything, no real knowledge of it, don't know how that game goes. So when they tell you certain things about it, you just believe it from that aspect, and you that's fine by it. But that who constructed this, Mortimer and Randolph here, right? They know the ins and outs. So when they use, as Malcolm said in my intro, to use their apparatuses of media and stuff like that, you're able to sell certain narratives to the public that we buy. And we have to ask ourselves, does that sound right? That the cartels are giving disinformation to have them to come into this land base. What are they saying? What are they saying? Well, stay tuned to that, because again, I'm gonna show you something that many of y'all didn't know. A lot of us, we thought it was about something else, and the way they sold it, we're more sympathetic if we think it's. Let's put it like this: you're gonna find out that somebody told you that if somebody was bringing in the tired, the poor, and the children, you'd be sympathetic to that. But until you know what the game, like playing a game and not knowing the instruction, and you just try to play it off the whim, you figure it out. It's like, I guess back in the day with Laura Croft, you know what I'm saying? You used to be on a particular level and you just be in there and trying to find out that you're supposed to go between this little rock that's over here next to this bush, but you going through everything. Now, some of them do the cheat books. Now, them the ones that ain't really got no skill. The ones with skills is when you don't need no cheat book. You sit there and be a day or two, maybe some hours it take you to get to find where the little crack is for you to get through. We don't need no cheat book, right? But in this case, you don't got a cheat book and you have no knowledge about it. So you just take it for how they sell it. We're gonna show you that they sold you something that you didn't know, and when you find out, you might be like, okay, damn, maybe that makes more sense than to say that this information and then everybody else saying. And a lot of time when we hear these interviews, they saying for a better life. I don't think that's part of the game. Seeking for a better life, economical hardship is not part of the game. It's supposed to be about asylum seeking and refugees, right? But not economic hardship, because, well, that's like we have people in this country who got economic hardship. People who homeless have economic hardship. So how could that be a criteria when first you take care of home? And if I get extra, well, matter of fact, how about this? If I got enough, I'll split enough that we both eat. You don't get all the resources and leave your children sitting there with their stomach grumbling and growling and staring at you. Then they would call you a neglectful parent. But we're going to see, really, is this game what it is? So here it is. We know that those that are going to come across there, what's the next stop? Probably some buses. If you get to the finish line, it's kind of like the story they tell in history when they talk about after, let's say, when Lincoln did the 1861 Confiscation Act, and supposedly the story they tell us, again, remember, there was the story they told us, and a lot of us take that as truth. But the story they tell in history is, if you can get from the plantation and get to unions, right, to the contraband camps, or get to the camp union camps, you become a contraband. Let me say that one more again. You know, like the story they told in 1861 about the Confiscation Act that Lincoln supposedly wrote? And because they wrote that so that those who could get from the plantation and get to the unions and become part of the camps and would be part of counted as contraband. So this is what they're saying, that this information that's being told to them is kind of the same thing. Like something been put out there and saying if you can get here, that you get to the union ground, everything gonna be all right. So, you know, if you're under these situations that many of them in, and they tell them, they're hearing stories again with technology today. What about all the ones that came before them? What are some of the phone calls? What are some of the things that's being sent home, written back and said, hey man, you can get everything here. We getting money, we getting jobs, we getting cars, we staying in hotel, treating us like kings and queens over here. You don't think that would send no SOS to the people that don't got, you don't think that would send an SOS to nobody? You'd be mistaken if you thought that, right? You know damn well, right? Let's just say, for instance, if you went to a food pantry, and say there's people who go to the food pantry, but this particular day, they giving out a case of ribs. Now, I know some of y'all, you might be vegan, some of you might be Muslim, you might be throwing up, oh, no damn pig, okay. But just say you still eat pig. You like the ribs, and they giving a case of ribs out. How long will it take before word get out when they start seeing everybody coming about that pantry with a case of damn ribs that you ain't hitting the damn phone telling everybody, hey man, you better come out here, them niggas giving ribs away. You know what I'm saying? They giving the cases of ribs. Next thing you know, you got everybody from every block and even people who don't even live in the community coming get some of them ribs. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying, right? Okay. So let's see because I'm going to show you what really is the cat call, what really is the thing that's attracting. And it's been lingering for a long time. It's been sitting up in Supreme Court. It's done fought 3 times, but they still let it linger around for some odd reason. And we just happen to be in political, well, we in the election season, correct? We in election season, right? So, okay, does that got to do with anything? Come on, Mr. Blow. Now, how you tying all that into that? Be easy now. We're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? So let me show you this up in Chicago. Let me show you this. Look at this here, right? So a story broke, should Chicago remain a sanctuary city? Aldermen push for voters to decide. Let me say that one more again. Should Chicago remain a sanctuary city? Aldermen push for voters to decide. So let me let you hear this story, what they said in here, and check this out.
Buses of asylum seekers arrived here in Chicago, and that brings the total number of arrival buses just this month to 59, with another bus expected today. Right now, Chicago has 21 active shelters to house these migrants, with nearly 2,000 people still sleeping in police stations and airports awaiting a bed. With no end in sight to the migrant crisis, 2 aldermen now want voters to decide if Chicago should remain a sanctuary city.
And Ninth Ward Alderman Anthony Beal joins us now to discuss the proposed solution. Alderman, the city already has a welcoming city ordinance in place that provides protections for migrants. How would this change that?
Well, that will basically throw that ordinance right out of the window, because right now we're dealing with a huge disaster here in the city of Chicago, and we need to get a handle on it. Nobody has ever asked the voters, the people who actually pay taxes and vote here in the city of Chicago, if they want to remain a sanctuary city. So I say, let the people decide if we want to continue to just blindly spend $500, $600 million a year when we can't get basic services in our communities, where some of our residents can't get new roofs, they can't get hot water heaters, they can't get furnaces. And these people have paid taxes their entire life, but yet we can find $500-600 million to just basically take out back, set on fire and burn it, because we don't know where this money is going.
Okay, so how exactly would it work then in terms of the voters being able to have a direct voice in this controversy? Set us up for how would it all play out?
Well, you know, in the city of Chicago, we have the ability, the aldermen, to vote to put 3 ordinances on the ballot. And so my goal, along with others, is to put the question on the ballot. Let the people decide whether or not they want to remain a sanctuary city and spend hundreds of millions of dollars of our hardworking taxpayer dollars and not seeing anything in return. And you all have to remember, only a certain fraction of the country are dealing with this. These are democratic cities and democratic states are the only ones that do. We are not sharing the wealth across the country. Other cities and other states are not dealing with these problems, and we're not getting the resources. So why should we continue to bear the brunt of this when the rest of the country is basically getting a pass?
And I want to ask as well, you know, what do you think the motivation was for former Mayor Lori Lightfoot and is for current Mayor Brandon Johnson to remain a sanctuary city? Because we've been to these community meetings and the majority of people there are outraged about the situation.
And those are the people that are being ignored. My phone is ringing off the hook with people calling me saying, Alderman, please continue to fight. Please, you know, we're behind you 100%. So the people are giving me the strength to continue to fight this fight. And I say, let's let the people decide. Let's not be afraid of putting something on the ballot. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a movement within the city of Chicago, in the city council, to stop this ordinance from seeing the light of day to be put on the ballot.
Back to that question, though, what is the motivation, do you think, for Mayor Johnson to support the city and raise taxes as a sanctuary city?
Well, I don't think there's anybody in this city that says, sure, let's spend $500 million on this problem. Let's continue to raise taxes to solve this problem. Well, this problem is not going anywhere. It's $500 million today is going to be $1 billion tomorrow because the buses and the planes are still coming. And so we have to do something. If we decide that we're no longer, and again, let the people decide that if we're no longer a sanctuary city, now we have the right and ability to reject those buses and those planes from coming into the city of Chicago, and we can disperse them and send them elsewhere.
Alderman Beal, we only have a few seconds left, but give us an idea of the process and your optimism on getting this on the ballot. What is it going to take for you and the other people who support having this referendum put on the ballot to make it a reality?
All we need is 26 aldermen to show that they have the guts to stand up, to put this on the ballot and let the people decide. If the people decide, hey, we want to remain a sanctuary city, so be it. Let's continue to move forward. But the people of Chicago have never been asked that question. They've never been polled. I guarantee you, if Fox decided to do a poll today, and let's see what that poll says, I guarantee you it's going to be overwhelmingly in support of no longer being a sanctuary city.
All right. And
back, right? So we back, right? So that's those what they call weather camps, or the tent city they talking about there in Chicago. But that alderman name is Anthony Beal, and he's proposing that they'll let the voters of Chicago choose whether they want to stay in the designation as a sanctuary city. Okay. Now, many of you may not even understand how they even got to become a sanctuary city. The way that it is kind of put out there, you would think that they talk about in 1985, they talk about how Harold Washington, when he was the mayor, that he put an executive order. I think matter of fact, it's 85-1. And my last show I did, matter of fact, I can show you that, let you see it right there, right? So you see that that's what Harold Washington did in 85. But there's a story with this, and it's not really about sanctuary city. Really what it was is that there was a city worker who had been accosted by police officers. And at this time in 85, police officers could come up and ask, for ID and status and so forth. Now, she was making some ruckus in Chicago. Maria, I forgot what Maria's last name is, but she just died, I think, a year or two from liquid blanket 19. So we can't say the other one. So when I say liquid blanket, just think about what they tell you in history. They say the blankets that they gave that knocked off the indigenous other people. Well, just think of liquid blanket in 19, and you know what I'm talking about, right? So the liquid blanket 19, I think she died of that in 2020. But story was that the police came to her, coasted her, wanted to arrest her, and she was working in the cabinet as, I think, in the educational department for Harold Washington's administration. And what ended up happening was he ended up writing an executive order, a mayor's executive order, having city employees they didn't have to comply with federal agents when the INS and stuff like that came. Now, they'll try to use that. Matter of fact, I can give you hold on. I think I got the picture. So somebody might be thinking, well, he just talking. Yeah. Well, we're later. So let me show who I'm talking about. So just in case you're thinking that, right? So that's the woman there. That was with Harold Washington, Maria. I can't think of her last name, but she was Latino. And so what ended up happening is the fact that, again, they put that state ordinance, set it up. So on the books, it kind of looked like Harold Washington is the one that set it up, the Chicago sanctuary city, but that's not true. Then what happens is you see this happen. In 2006, you see the city council passes law protecting immigrants 2006, they do it because one of the aldermen came, put a proposal up, and it was because, again, about Harold Washington. If anybody knows the history about what Harold Washington, the Vadoli Act 9, right? They wouldn't pass nothing with Harold Washington in that city council. So you know he couldn't get nothing passed. That's why he tried to do executive order, which the way that it works is don't really have enough teeth to enforce it the way they want it to. But it was on the books. So in 2006, Daley Richard J. Daley, they call him Daley Light, end up creating the new one that got passed through the council, as you see on your screen there. It passed on the council. Now, as you heard that conversation with Alderman Anthony Beal, you heard the word ordinance. Okay? So how did it become an ordinance? Well, it was this cat right here. It was July 10th of 2012 when Mayor Emanuel introduced Welcoming City Ordinance. That's Rahm Emanuel, right? When Rahm Emanuel became mayor, he created the ordinance that you heard Anthony Beal talking about, which became the one that had teeth that became enforceable, right? So now we know where it really came from, right? Okay, look at the year that is. Keep that in mind. Put that as a mental note. 2012, right? So in 2012, you got that's happening, right? So now that's catching us up to what he's talking about, right? So now he's proposing as an alderman that they put this on the ballot because they never once asked the city. They didn't ask the residents. They didn't ask the taxpayers whether they wanted a sanctuary city, right? Somehow it became, as I laid out some of the things, how it fruition to where it became. So the thing you have to look at is because remember where Rahm Emanuel was before he became mayor. Where was he at? Where was Rahm Emanuel at before he became mayor? Right? He was with Barack Obama, correct? He went to the White House, right? And then something between him and Michelle, right? And he came to Chicago and he ended up becoming mayor. Now, here it is, that was enforced by, I guess, his situation and the council. And we would say that the council represents the people, but, we know how politics work. So Anthony Beal said, well, based on the circumstance and all the things that's happening, and before I go there, let's look at some of the things that is happening before I lay out all the stuff that he talked about. These are some of the other things that's also contributing factors when, remember, he's talking about taxes, right? Right? But, okay, let me show you something that's also going on in the city, right? He talked about where's the money that's been allocated that seemed to be is just, money going into a money pit. Money coming in, money going out, and it's not enough sufficient, so they got to keep eating resources and actually cutting budgets to try to help. So it's putting a strain on the city. Just like you look in New York with Eric Adams, just like a lot of people, say that Eric Adams really wanted that, but you got to remember, now this is the other thing too. Like you heard Anthony Beals and them say, it's the Democratic cities that have, let's say, Black people that seem to be at the helm of the state, being the HNIC and running things. But guess what? It's kind of like, just like when in 2008, when he got in, it looks like people like to let Black folks run business when the plane on fire, the cockpit is having a short, the wheels can't come down, both your wings done broke, you got a split in the cabin pressure law, and they want you to land it. Do I need to say that again? I think y'all get it, what I'm saying, right? The plane on fire, both wings broke, the landing gear stuck, short wind in the cabin, in the cockpit, cabin pressure low, and they want you to come in there. And what was that movie they did with that captain landing the plane down in New York? That's what they want you to come in and do. So what end up happening? They tie your damn hands up so that even though people have the notion that when you have people that look like yourself that get in these positions, that they somehow going to matriculate and that's going to trickle down to you and going to be beneficial for that group, they tie your damn hands up. So the hands are all tied up, can't do what he's supposed to do as to help. Remember, that one came in with $777 billion. Remember that? He came in, he had to deal with $777 billion. Hands tied up. Not saying that he was going to really do anything because he did for who he wanted to do for. But when it came to the other one, see, you can't play that. No one's above the, see, they play the nobody's above the rule when it comes to when somebody say give you, remember when say Kamala Harris, no, I'm not doing nothing just only for black people. No, because the game ain't made to do nothing strictly for black people at all. Yet you put in, but you don't get to smoke none. You put in, but you ain't getting nothing to smoke. So in this case, right, they give these people these cities, just like what you seen in the beginning when they talked about the one that what's their name? The one of the cops that type the Nichols, Tyree Nichols, right? And that situation, remember some of the stuff that was being said, and they said, and I think I seen it on Piers Morgan. They said, well, you know, you got a black mayor, you got a black chief. That's okay, black don't necessarily mean you running any damn thing. But see, it looked good. You know what I'm saying? It looked good from the presentation, but actually the power, you don't get the run because you're not coming in there to be able to do nothing. So when Eric came into the job and people saying that he wanted it, but if you go back and look at the executive, well, it was the policy that new council put in there. But if you go study and do your research, you're going to see that Eric Adams did not sign. He did not sign it. So he basically vetoed it. He was in the degrees and it still passed because kind of like they call it, I think, like a pocket vote. Same thing like what Lincoln did when he could have actually did more according to the history they tell us, but he pocket voted. And that's how they were pardoned to come back to the country, get everything that they got after he got killed, and they gave him back everything, pardoned him, and the whole 40 acres and the mule situation never manifest because Lincoln pocket voted when he could have did something about it. But Eric Davis did the same thing. And so people say that he the one that created that situation. No, they get the damn job before they come in. It's already on fire. It's already crashing and burning. Ed Koch is the one that did that in 1989, Executive Order 124. If you go look it up, you'll see that Ed Koch is the one that made Sanctuary City in New York. You know what I'm saying? It was Ed Koch who did that. So all I'm saying is that a lot of times people attribute to this again by parties, Democrats, Republicans. You trying to say that, oh, it's a Democratic city and the way that it's ran. No. They only give you some shit so the shit is already burning on fire. They ain't give you no shit so you can run it. And that's again, you don't get the benefit of that. Come on, everybody. We all know better than that, right? We know better than that. So anyway, so Brandon is in the same situation. He ain't even think about this. You know, there's normally used to be a probation period when you at a job, right? 90 days, you go through the probation period. If you get past that, then you start getting the package and you get the, you're not on that probation period. Well, think about it. Damn, he just got in this year. Then he get what they swear him on, what, May 15th? Shit is just, it's not even October yet. And the crisis he's in, they put it all on him. He came in on the burning building to tie them hands up. You're not going to come in here to do nothing that's going to be some benefit to some people you might be trying to do. You're going to be too tied up in that. And so you got a situation here. Now, he can't come out and say that because that's the game. But we see Anthony Beale is saying, well, why don't we put this as a referendum? We're going to put 3 ordinances on the ballot. Let the people choose, right? whether they want to remain the sanctuary city or not. Now, let's say this should manifest itself. Well, guess what probably end up happening? New York probably going to do the same, you know what I'm saying? But it looks good from a politician and him saying that. Could just be a ploy. May not be true. Right? I got a message here. Let me see. Somebody got a message here. Oh, let me see that. Hold on. Oh, no. What are you doing? No. Jump the gun. Hold on. I got you covered. Hold on 1 second, there, sir. Whoever that is. Give me 1 second. You want to show that, sir? Put Brandon on the screen. Put Brandon on the screen. Okay, let's see. I got a comment here. You got any comments? Go ahead. Black Beauty always. Hello, Mr. Blowsurmind. What's up? Black Beauty, ain't seen you in a minute. Yeah, welcome to my Tuesday late night show, right? I know y'all surprised that I'm on here. Now, normally for those of you who coming over here, this first time you ever heard, I'm normally on Sundays between 5 and 7. Trying something out a little bit. If you like what you do, go ahead, subscribe, share, do all that other good stuff. Matter of fact, we always in need of this because, again, they made sure that I didn't get no money. I've been doing this for 12 years. Can you imagine they've been doing it? Most people have been done quit. You can't get 100 views. Can't get past 20. Proved I can get past 20 likes because it got to go to the market. What's going to happen after it get done? Whatever numbers I getting, gonna go a little bit, and then about the next day or so, gonna be dead. Gonna be for 2 days dead. They got it rigged. But I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because somebody got to be on the wall, right? So if you appreciate that, you can contribute in that way. You can also come in this way. You can always do it. Hit that subscribe, like, and share. I appreciate all that, right? So let's get back to this. So Anthony Bill. Want to put these 3 ordinances, put it on the ballot, allow them to do that because, again, what the resources are getting ate up. It's a lot of money being ate up in the city, right? And from a political standpoint, you would think that, yeah, let the people choose. Now, look what possibly can happen. Again, Chicago is a microcosm of the United States. It's like one of the most segregated cities in the United States. Everybody got their section. If you know about Chicago, Polish got their section, Mexicans got their sections, Black got their sections, so on and so on and so on, right? Everybody got their section, right? And little America in a way, right? So let's just say you put it to the ballot. Okay, it's kind of split. I think it's like 30 across the board. I think it's Blacks 30% or somewhere between. Might have lessened because there's been a lot of justification. A lot of people going back and leaving, can't live in Chicago. So let's just say it's somewhere between 30 to 25, Hispanics 30 to 25, whites 30 to 25. Somewhere it's like that, right? It's pretty much, it was even. It might have them, it fell a little bit, maybe as time. But so let's say they put it to the ballot, and then the ballot come back and it maintains. What does that say? I'm not saying not saying that some people who may be of melanin skin may not want it, but what would that say? What kind of message would that send if you put it to the ballot and it come back and they still maintain it? Because you got 50 wards. I didn't get to do all my due diligence onto the demographics, a percentage of Hispanics to Blacks and white as aldermen, but I think they've been slowly taking over more of them, right? So what happens? And it becomes that. So they end up maintaining that. And that could cause some problems. But let me show you some of the other things that's also going on that is contributing to when they say now they want to, in order to pay for stuff like that, you got to get it from where? The taxpayers. But there's also other things that's going on in the city that a lot of people may not know, didn't hear about. Let me show you something here. I got a message here. Let me see what this message is here. So it's been born and raised in Shire and is super segregated, right? Ain't that what? So I ain't lying, right? Like little America, right? Most segregated city in America. Everybody got their place in Chicago. Got their sound. They got Greek town. They got Jew town. Again, some people say that's not politically correct, but that's what saying Chicago, right? Jew town, Greek town, Chinatown, but ain't no Negro town. Let me say that one more again. You got every town, Italian town, Greek town, Jew town, Chinatown, but ain't no Negro town. So with that being said, then, right? So that means that that segment of people have to be just a consumer, right? Somebody been deemed and labeled as a consumer nation. So you have to be part of this, if people say, well, black people got so many trillions of dollars, but you a consumer. You're just a consumer. You got consumer power, right? But you say, well, if we put our money together and buy it, some of our people, man, I'm just saying it like this. Some of our people believe that what the history we've been enduring, that it went away. It might have evolved. It might have metamorphed, but I don't think it ever went away. And you stay tuned. I'm going to show you something I'm pretty sure y'all probably didn't know, because you wouldn't have no reason to know. Because I've been doing this as long as I've been doing it. So I've been doing news for over 12 years. So there's a lot of stories. Now I understand when the cats that be sitting down and be doing the news, they be knowing a lot because they cover a lot of stories. And when you do this for years and years, you got all those stories. You got all the stuff that done happened. So I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm gonna tell you what I know. Let me say that one more again. I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm gonna tell you what I know. So let me show y'all this. All right, so let's see. So once again, you got Brandon Johnson, right? Just getting sworn in. He ain't even been there 6 months. And they're putting the blame on him, right? It's you doing all this. But let me show y'all something. Listen to this and be right back. Check this out.
The city has paid more than $578 million over the past 7 years to settle and defend cases involving police misconduct. As legal bills climb, the question of how to manage the crisis of cost and confidence will rank among the many challenges confronting the city's next mayor. At their core, these cases are about both the financial and emotional costs of rogue cops. More than 200 convictions have now been dismissed.
This is a day where we have to reckon with the history of our system and vow to do everything within our power, again, to make sure that it never happens again.
When over 100 black men have been released and exonerated because of torture and false confessions, you certainly understand why there's strained relationships. So we have to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to ensure that we have a police force that recognizes the value of culturally competent policing, so that we do not have to continue to spend hundreds of millions of dollars.
Nothing like this has ever happened in the city of Chicago, where there's been this level of mass exoneration.
Thank you. Josh Tepfer is one of Wilkins' attorneys.
We're talking about hundreds of people who are reporting this to the city of Chicago. It's not that nobody believed them, it's that nobody cared. That is the most astounding thing to me.
Okay, hold on again, right? So we back, right? All right, so put that up on the screen for me, yes, sir. Wrong one. Put that one up. That one there. Yeah, put that one up. All right, no, wrong one. Yeah, we got some difficulties over here. All right, so you just heard them say, right? 200 convictions dismissed. Think about that, 200 convictions, right? Or they say misconduct, right, by police officials. So, they have a price tag if it's about $578 million since 2016 in judgments and settlements that the city had been paying. That was from 2016. There's a report that you probably can't get no more that was out there talking about there's going to be $1 billion coming, and that was as Brandon was coming in. So you already got that is on the board, right? You got that to have to deal with as well, right? Seven Spirits would definitely know. I mean, you know the history, John Burge, and there's a long history when it comes to, you know, brothers and sisters living in Chicago under those circumstances. And so, you know, that's been it. And then, you know, they got Kim Fox over there, right? You got Kim Fox. And a lot of people, you know, ever since last time we seen Kim Fox, and ain't really so much was about with Jesse Smollett, right? They was, you know, saying that he think that he got some kind of, you know, preferential treatment and stuff like that, and so forth and so on. But that's because, again, when you at the helm, you don't get to do like white folks do, right? We don't get to do like when white folks be in there. We know damn well if they the district attorney, right? Right? You're gonna use that nepotism. You're gonna use that favor. You're gonna use right? They be doing fuck shit like everybody else do, but because of the connections behind the scenes, they don't get charged with certain shit, or shit get dropped and so forth. So when we finally get somebody in that seat, you know, quid pro quo, but not necessarily, right? No, you don't get the quid pro quo. Right? You don't do as we do, right? You don't get to do what we do. But so they've been trying to get rid of her. But as I said, there's again, because of sometimes, you know, a lot of people want to say there's only a couple bad apples, but when you start seeing 200 convictions being overturned, if there's 200, it might be 400. If there's 400, it might be 800, it might be 800, it might be 600. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. If I make the job based on merit by arrest, and if I don't want to be a flatfoot on the corner, beating, turning, you know, old Joe, back in the day, Joe Foster, you know what I'm saying, running motherfucker, throw the damn billy club, you run and go between your leg and trip you and fall and shit, right? That kind of shit. You don't want to be doing that. So you try to move up and get into the DT and gang crime unit. You try to move up, right? So how does one move up? Just like a lawyer, right? Right? To be a judge and so forth. So when you put a merit system based on people got to get locked up, then, you know, ambition, right? Pay, right? Wants and needs. You know, people can come blind and start doing a whole lot of shit that they should be doing because they, you know, the meritocracy of this shit is I need to get, you know, it's like writing tickets. We all kind of know when it's quota time, like, damn, all of a sudden now everybody getting pulled over. We're like, shit, it must be quota time. They got to rent them tickets, right? Like they I guess you got to write so many, I don't know, in the 6-month period or whatever it might be. But you can always tell, you know, shit, somebody pulled over here, somebody being on the expressway, see the shit everybody get, it's quota time, right? So the same thing would be when it comes to wrestle. So what happens is you may get somebody out there who rogue, just out there creating situations. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, when you understand the history of that institution, and when it comes dealing with us, we got a long history together. According to the story they told us, right? The story they tell us of history, the patty roll, and us having drapetomania, right? You know, drapetomania is when a nigga don't want to be enslaved no more and run away. They used to diagnose you with the DSM to say you got drapetomania, right? So that means something you don't want to be a slave, right? So with that being said, so they got that tab. They've been dealing with that, right? You got that tab, and then they send there, okay, I got a message. Hold on one second, I got a message right here. Seven Smith said Mayor Daley had them, yeah. Oh, yeah. You talking about the Tilden era, right? Around Tilden, right? And what was the name? Leonard? I remember that boy that got beat up over there, right? But yeah, that goes back to that. Yeah, I mean, basically that's what it was, right? Muggs moved up, used the street to get into politics. I think a quote by Luke, I think it's, what's his name? Lucky Luciano. I think I'm saying that right. Lucky Luciano said, next, if he come back in life, he don't want to be a criminal. He want to be a politician. Let me say that one more again. Lucky Luciano said when he reincarnate, he want to be he said he don't want to be a gangster no more. He said he will come out and be a politician. I'm trying to. So I guess what is he making the correlation to, right? But anyway, right? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so there's the elevation of using it, and it seems like we, of our people, again, when we look at the origin of the history of the gang, it never manifested that. It only stayed street level, and maybe it's because you was encased in the glass, right? Could see where you want to go, and everybody have ambitions to be the Nino Brown, but you know, say many are chosen, but few are called, right? So how many freeway Rickies you gonna get? You know, one in a lifetime, two in a lifetime. I'm pretty sure some of us, we know some people who went through that game and did what they did. But the point is, in this, the city has dealt with the ramifications of maybe ambitious cops or just could be rogue cops. And so when the people go back and they be exonerated, they're coming back and they to be paid. Now, who's to pay the tab for that, right? Especially when you got a big ass bill. Now you're going to topple that with this. So now you can see why they're talking about it's time we want to renege this. We want to call this back. We say we want to put this on as a vote. Now, again, I'm not saying whether this is, again, because he said the way that they got to go through the process, I kind of looked it up and it was saying that, okay, whatever the governor was, and you got to get a certain kind of percentage of the people to vote to get it on the ballot. So first they got to vote, I think, by the aldermen, and then they got to propose the bill. And then when they put it as a question, then the people would have to vote at a certain percentage, and then it can be put on the ballot, and then they vote. So you see what I'm saying? They don't make it easy, right? They don't make that easy. So, but it's just something being suggested. So whether it happened or not, well, that's only time will tell. So, but you got that on there, right? You have that compound as part of the financial strain that's being put on the city, right? You got to keep paying out those. So when they get these exorbitant, lawsuits, that is okay. If something like that happened to one of us, God forbid that any of that happened to any of us, or it may have happened to somebody who might hear me, and to be entitled for being wrongly convicted and things like that, can't get time back. Money is like a pacifier to a crying baby. It soothes it for a minute, but after a while, the baby realizes it's just a pacifier, spit it out and say, shit, you can't fool me with that no more, right? And for a while, if you think about it, when we look at it, wasn't that like kind of like a little criteria, like, okay, for the death, we'll give you some money, right? That had went on for a minute. It was like got like a little cycle for a minute. And then, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years. When I did the Breonna Taylor situation, Taylor, right? Yeah. When I did hers, when all that went down, that's really why they didn't do nothing beyond, because they took the money. See, we started taking the money and wasn't looking at the justification, the justice in it. So the quid pro quo is for that, we're gonna give you this. And so the family get to go on and so forth. But right. So in this case, Muggs is coming back. They just went through the process and then set up in 5, 10, 20 years, and then come to find they've been vindicated, they've been exonerated, so they got to pay. So it's not that it's coming out of the officer's pocket, it's coming out of the city's. And so now they're talking about with the proposal of all this, they got to come up with more money for all these resources and stuff. So guess who's going to get flipped the bill? The taxpayers. Right? So you damn right they want to put that on the ballot and say, you know what? Fuck that shit. Let's get this shit out of here. But from a humanitarian, it don't look good. Right? But you say you never asked us in the first damn place. So anyway, with that being said, so they got that on the plate as well. And then they talked about, again, like I said, Brandon Johnson just got the job. Right? He just got the damn job. Then they said, now, based on the situation he was in under, right? Okay. When you're in an emergency situation and you have to react in real time, sometimes you might make the wrong move. You know, like playing chess. Sometimes you make the wrong move, but then what you got to do is you got to recoup from that badass move you made once you realize that that position that they got you in a bad position. So you got to recoup from that and turn it around and put the pressure on them. So he did some things, but then I kind of remember, some of y'all don't know, but I'm going to play this just because some of y'all may not know. Did y'all see that they did this press conference out there and these people were saying what they wanted, right? Listen, matter of fact, they telling them, we don't want the tents, right? I think when I was coming up, they said beggars can't be choosy, right? Beggars can't be choosy, but I understand about dignity. I understand that, you know what I'm saying? Somebody come at your house, you don't give them the dirty blanket and the dirty pillow. You try to find the most cleanest if you ain't got no shit, or give them nothing, but you give them something. I give you the couch instead of let you sleep on the damn floor. Right? If I don't got a bed, I let you get on the damn couch. Or I get some pillows together, something to make something a little bit more comfortable for you. But you don't get to come and demand, say, well, you know what, man, I'm in your house, why don't I let sleep in your bed? Now, if I don't offer it, that's different, but you don't get to demand it. But this is what they were doing. Listen to this, be right back. Yeah, do we got that? Yeah, we got that. Hold on. Be right back. Check this out.
First of all the media that has come today to hear a message of truth. My name is Pastor Julie Contreras. That's JULIE-CONTRERAS, and I am with United Giving Hope, which is a non-for-profit organization that serves humanity beyond borders. Today, as a citizen of the United States of America, knowing how great our nation is, knowing how rich we are in many aspects, and knowing the values that we have as Americans, this is unacceptable, inappropriate treatment of human beings. And if we want to look at history in America and in general what has been taught to us, there was a leader in Germany years ago, and his name was Adolf Hitler. And he came into office for a few months, and he created concentration camps. This is not the exact same thing, but it's very much a parallel of taking human beings and telling them that they are less worthy of being allowed to simulate into our society. This is not the answer of herding them into a tent city. The cold will come soon, and we know all too well the cold that exists here in Chicago, the below zero weather that keeps us in our homes with heat and blankets and socks and clothes. I don't believe, as of today, that there is a tent that could be created that's going to defend people from the elements that will come to us in the next few months. There are so many abandoned buildings here in Chicago. Give the Venezuelan, Colombian, asylum seekers a bucket, a mop, and a broom and soap, and they will mop and sweep and clean and create their homes inside of these abandoned buildings. We need to provide resources in the aspect of social services, not to make them dependent on the system, but to rehabilitate them so they can be a positive in our community and contribute to us. Migrating is natural, especially if you are fleeing imminent danger from your violent-ridden streets in Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, and all the other countries that we see migrants coming from, even Russia, the Ukraine. This is the United States of America. And we're here today armed with peace and prayer to tell Mayor Johnson, we say no to a tent city. We are asking you to treat the asylum seekers with respect and dignity, or you, sir, are no better than the governor of Texas, or you, sir, are no better than the traffickers that have made money off the backs The money that you are going to receive from the federal government will be given to your friends to build tents, or to your friends in the fancy hotels on Michigan Avenue, to organizations who are paying salaries, but none of that money ever comes to the base. Our organizations have created matrices. Today we have families standing with us here that are asylum seekers that we've taken off the street to rehabilitate them so that they can live a life of freedom and security, because all they're guilty of is coming to our country for a better life. Again, Mayor Johnson, we ask you to treat asylum seekers with respect and dignity. Now I'm going to bring forward two Venezuelan refugees before I bring the organizations to speak, so that they can let you know how they feel about how.
So we are back. I put that up on the screen there for me, sir. Right. All right. So going back to Anthony Beale. Right. So again, now you heard them. They out there. They're requesting. They're demanding. They're saying, okay. So right. So you want accommodations, right? You even are requesting. Well, you know what? Since y'all got so many damn abandoned buildings, why don't you just give us a mop, broom, and a bucket, and let us take that? Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. On a house, they call it a lien, right? If we got a lien, I guess there's priorities on the lien, right? Well, damn, don't you would think? Let's put it this way, because see, everything that we think is really not what we really know. Our general understanding of the shit is the priority should be the citizen, right? That those who if that's the case, the homeless should have been off the street. If that all it is give them the broom and let them go and get in the abandoned buildings and stuff like that, right? It was that simple, but we know it's not. But your demand is treat them with dignity. They're making accommodations. I'm finding a place for you to lay down and be there. I get you're using Chicago and its historical aspect of winter. Now, Seven Spirit, you in here, since Jesse Smollett and the Arctic cold has been like that cold. Other than that, I don't think that it's been as cold as the historical part of Chicago for a while. I'm not saying it can't get cold, and it is historically known to be cold, but I don't think it's been like them old colds where it was called the Hawk. It used to be out there, huh? When it was the Hawk and the blizzard of '79 and so forth and everything like that. I don't think it's been like that. It may get one good snow that end up lasting, and because it be a certain type of cold, it may last. But the thing is, you're using this as part of your plea. And then to say Hitler. Did y'all, wait a minute, was I the only one that heard that? Was I the only one that heard her say Hitler? She said Hitler. Black man called a black man Hitler. Making the equation or the equivalent to saying, well, you treating them, putting them in there is equivalent to putting them there and get ready to put them into some kind of chamber. Hey, man, come on, man. Huh? You know what I'm saying? I think that's just really crazy. But I mean, you know, I get it. You trying to get some things to get moved. Now, let me tell you some other stuff now. Now, we talked about there's the possibility, well, we know that there's payments being paid by exonerations, right? So that's dealing with that element. You got, now listen to this. They said there's an estimate of $5 million per week to house migrants. $5 million per week. So if it's $5 million per week, 4 weeks in a month, right? So that's 20 million times 12. There's 12 months in a year. So I guess we could just say 52 weeks, right? There's 52 weeks in a year. So 52 times 5. We're talking about over $250,000 just to house them in 1 year, right? $250,000. I mean, I'm sorry, let me take that back. Rewind that. $250 million. Now what the hell I'm talking about million. $250 million, right? To house this for 1 year. So, okay, with that kind of figures, right? That's a lot of money you're talking about. And so you heard her say that his partners will be the ones that be the beneficiaries, the ones that's in the hotels and so. He just got the job. You understand? It ain't like somebody like say if it would have been Lightfoot who should have had a term already, then made some partners and things like that, or going back and get somebody who done had several terms. That would be, he just got the job. I'm not saying that he may not know people he came from the Board of Education. So there's some fraternization with people, but I'm just saying, oh, wait a minute. Damn, he just got the job. Now, if it would have been somebody else of another persuasion, would you be saying the same damn thing? Most likely you wouldn't. You ain't gonna say no shit like that. Making some equal to Hitler. Yeah, they don't say that, right? But on us, everything's good. It's everything on the wood, the money, every bet on the wood, the money's good, right? But anyway, so you're talking about over $250 million, right? And so here it is, you're dealing with a huge disaster. And as Anthony Beale say, put this to the people. It's not right that the people will have to be flipping for something that they may not agree upon. And he's right to say that. Now, whether it manifests and come to fruition is another thing, but the ideal of them doing that, I think, is good. Now, going back to the hair washing, her name was Maria Serda. That was her name, Maria Serda, M-A-R-I-A-C-E-R-D-A. That's originally with Harold Washington when he kind of said that he made the sanctuary bill. Her name was Maria Serda. Came to me later on, but that was what it was. So, all right, so check this out. All right, so they're sitting there saying stuff like that. They're talking about, okay, but then they're talking about, like she said, they're talking about these contracts, right? They're talking about his cronies that he could be, migrant tent city companies accused of controversial ties. So, you got to spread a certain kind of propaganda, because the other dude that spoke behind her says that they're setting them up for when Trump comes, they know where they're at so they can grab them and take them back. Let me say that one more again. That's what he said. You want to hear it? If somebody tell me they want to hear it, I'll let you hear it. But otherwise, I just tell you. I'll let you hear him say it for his own words. So that way you'll say, I'm just saying shit. He said that he hard-head or get it through his thick head, right? That if you let us stay in these tent cities or let them stay in these tent cities, it's just setting them up so when Trump get in, Trump gonna know where to go get them and then take them back. This what this cat has said, right? This what the dude that spoke behind her, which I got. If anybody want to hear it, all I need is one person say yes, then everybody else got to just be with it. But if anybody want it, I'll play it. But if not, I'm gonna move on. So with that being said, okay, so listen to this though. Now, listen what they're saying about the billings. Again, he just got the damn job. Just imagine. All right, let me play this first and then come back. Listen to this and be right back.
Calls for transparency over exactly how much the city of Chicago is spending to care for and to house more than 14,000 migrants.
As aldermen demand more oversight, the city of Chicago has denied a request for more records from NBC5 Investigates. Bennett Haberly joins us now with more on that story. Bennett.
Marion and Stefan, for months we've been asking for more spending receipts like this since we first learned staffers working to care for migrants in the city billed the city of Chicago for anywhere between $135 to $200 an hour. Since August of last year, the city of Chicago has paid a Kansas-based company, Favorite Healthcare Staffing, more than $57 million. The company, with a satellite office on the Northwest Side, holds the contract to provide staffing for migrant shelters across Chicago. In an effort to follow how those dollars have been spent, NBC5 Investigates filed a Freedom of Information Act request asking for a year's worth of invoices. But this letter shows the city has denied our request as unduly burdensome, noting there are 498 payment vouchers that require redactions, and that would take 124 hours of staff time, posing an immense burden. A burden so large, the city says, that it outweighs the public interest in the information. What's curious is that before this denial letter, the city already provided us with these two invoices, showing with overtime, a nurse at this High Ridge YMCA shelter earned $20,000 in a week. During that same week last December, a shelter manager made $14,000.
This requires a great deal of attention, a lot more transparency. The fact that news organizations are only given one or two invoices when they've requested thousands of them, to me, is unconscionable.
Alderman Brendan Riley represents the 42nd Ward. That includes the Inn of Chicago, a migrant shelter that now hosts more than 1,500 people. Riley is among a growing chorus of city leaders concerned about transparency with city spending.
The city council has a role in appropriating monies like this for programs like this, and the fact that we've all been left in the dark about the costs per hour for staff for these facilities, I think, is insane.
What we do know, with 498 payment vouchers totaling $57 million, that works out to an average of $115,000 per invoice. When I asked Mayor Johnson last week about this perceived lack of transparency, he said this.
So let me just make sure that you're clear and everybody else is clear here. Every single Monday, there's a conversation with alders who are part of a working group. Every Friday, there's an email that is sent so all the alders could see it. We have released information providing the details of the fact that when we appropriated the first $51 million, I was the person that said that the vast majority of it went to staffing.
While copies of two recent alderman briefings obtained by NBC5 Investigates do reference upcoming contracts and migrants' needs, they do not show specific information on dollars spent. Now, the city's finance department asked us to narrow the scope of our records request, something that we did today in hopes of seeing more invoices like this. We'll keep you posted on that. We also reached out again to favorite staffing for comment, but haven't heard back. Stefan?
Keep asking questions, Bennett Haber.
So we back, right? So here it is again. They already fine-tooth comb under the microscope. What you doing with the money? What you doing with the money? Huh? Where's all that money going? Wait a minute. Now think about it. Now let me this is what I was gonna say before I went there. Now you got a homie that y'all help become mayor, alderman, get into politics. What is campaign funding for? Right? You helping to the slush fund, right? Or the campaign fund, right? What really is that for, right? Is that like, I helped you get there, right? So you kind of owe me one, right? So you mean to tell me that you don't think that the opportunity now, let's look at all the way around this now. Let's look at New York, all the sanctuary cities that has been demarcated as a city for it, and those people in the position. Of course, some of their friends, of course, they're going, you know what I'm saying? That's politicking, right? It's just that you're not supposed to do it in such a way that it becomes, breaking the rules in the game. You can do it, but it has to be a way to be done. And so certain people having bids and contracts and stuff like that, it's possible. But why are they so focused to say, look, he's the money here. He said, look, I have a meeting every Monday. People getting the emails. I done told you that the $51 million is basically, look, you're talking about, now think about the numbers that they telling us that supposedly are the migrant numbers. Do we really believe that's the real number? Do we really believe that's the real number? Or is that number bigger than that? Right? Remember how long they had told us that there was how many undocumented in this land? How long they had been kept saying that number for how many years? It's like saying black people being 13% ever since the 80s. 40 years later, you still 13, 14% with no growth. Yes, dying like everybody else dying. These other groups claim to be bigger than us. So even whatever our actual number is, according to the way you make it, 46 to 50 million. And if you're supposed to be 2 times, 3 times bigger than us, well, you dying just as much as we dying. Yes, we do have, situations that a lot of shit that we go through, that we're working that out, of the immaturity of shit that we got ourselves involved, and the, brainwashing that some of our people got. But we working at it. We getting better. We getting better, right? And so, but everybody else acts like they not dying and killing each other where they live at. But the mascot of this, right, is our face and our people. So with that being said, you're gonna have cronies and nepotism and things like that. That's just part of the game. But for some odd reason, you want to focus on this, and you're trying to, again, demonize and branding, right? Say that twice. Brandon as, he already got him as Hitler. You're saying he said, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, the pressure is what it is to be us in this land. A lot of people don't get it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying whether he's doing something or not, but goddamn, he ain't getting the job good enough yet. He ain't studied the playbook enough. You understand? Just like fourth quarter, the quarterback, your star quarterback, you ain't been winning all game. Brandon get you close down. You've been down by 21. He done got it to 14, ain't got the ball. He on the 40 going towards the end zone with about 39 seconds. And because you don't win the game, you brain he got too many B's in there for me. You're blaming Brandon for the damn game because y'all didn't win. What about that bomb ass motherfucker that was in there before him? What about them? Matter of fact, as Seven Spears said, the cat that he said and the racketeering that they was doing, nobody went to see behind their hand of all the shit they was doing, and they talked about him or him daddy, right? Ain't that right, Seven Spears? They ain't talking about him or his daddy, right? So, but soon you get in there, that's what it is, gonna be under the microscope. So, okay, with that being said, okay, I got a comment here. Let me see what this comment say. Seven Spears said, now we know how the immigrants of the early 1900s built their generational wealth. Exactly, right? Matter of fact, you might understand how we lost this country going back when they talk about, they said the 1619 story and saying somebody came over here to Virginia Company. Again, for those who subscribe to the fact that we are the aboriginals of this land, right? Remember when they said Daniel Webster found in the true American is the copper color races. We the only people that's been in this land that name keep changing from African American to black to Negro to color to Indian. You get what I'm saying? And so with that being said, how else if you go back in time and understand today with the technology, how everything now, you got call waiting, right? You can see who calling you, right? You can FaceTime, you do all that stuff. So it's easy to have access to everybody. It's like right now, people are all kind of places right now. Some of y'all at home, some of you somewhere else, some of you traveling, but we all able to communicate with each other. But let's take it back to 1600. So I got you on the land over here, but the only way transporting is through boats. So if I'm immigrating people in on this portion of land that you allow me to be able to corn off, you don't know who I'm bringing over here. By the time we roll up on you, you understand? It's kind of like in what was that 300? Remember when they went through and they went to that little area and the little boy came, he was all tore up and he was just spelling Leonidas' arms. And they seen how they went through there and just roasted everybody ass through there, killed everybody up and hung them up. Well, that's probably how it was in them times, right? You didn't know, maybe somebody get away and they could tell somebody, hey, somebody coming. So when they talk about them Indian wars, right? You know who they say, the Indians, but that's another topic for another time. See some of my other shows, I'd be dealing with that. But anyway, point I'm saying is, yeah, that's how I do. So maybe that's what this is too. This might be that as well, that people are coming in here setting up shop because there's something, again, that Mortimer and Randolph, the architects, got planned. So we have to be watching to see what's going down. So, so what they're saying is Brandon, again, he telling you, he laying it out. So look at some of the stuff they were saying. Right, you see when they showed the 498 payment vouchers. Remember, they did a Freedom of Information Act trying to see, you know, where's all this $51 million that we gave you? We want to count it down to the penny. Where's it at? We don't believe that you had $51 million. We need to know where it's going. It's going in your damn pocket. And who was getting it so we can, you know, we can have some scandal on you. So here it is already. Like I said, he just got the damn job. And already he being accused of that. But he got a crisis he's dealing with. He already dealing with debt. Again, like I said, the plane already on fire, is crashing. He coming in. He got to save all this, and you still trying to put that label on him. Calling him Hitler, all kind of shit. Like, God damn, he can't lose for win. So they want to know what they said. They said, okay, so they said, well, we need to tally it up. Matter of fact, we the media, we requesting it in the documents that you showing us, like these two on the screen said, where it doesn't have no dollar amount in it, right? We need to see the dollar amount. We don't just need the ones that we need to see where it's all at. Damn. Damn. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's cold when you think about it. That's really that's cold as shit. So, but look at this, y'all. Look at this. Let me take that down for me. Look at the numbers they claiming that they have been bringing up in here since. You take that down. All right, you see them numbers on there? You see, say United States, say 50 million. 50 million, y'all. 50 million. What didn't it say that's about how many we are total? Matter of fact, when Joe Biden won, I played this last one, but I'm playing it again because where we going. Right? Remember Joe Biden said this?
2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this far. Okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. 2040.
Right? So, again, Joe Biden said, hey, y'all gonna have to deal with who? This is after he won. Remember that was that secret recording supposedly had came out that he told those at the support, I guess at the, I don't know, it was a party afterwards or whatever it was. And they were trying to say, you know, hey, we need to get something done. There's always some kind of excuse, right? Always some kind of damn excuse when it comes to, when we land some down, talking about some tangibles, there's always something else being said. So they don't want to deal with you. So he is telling you, hey, you guys gonna have to deal with the Hispanics. They're outnumbering you. You're gonna have to learn to deal with them. Wait a minute. We've been here before them. That ain't our business about them. We talking about between you and I. No. You gonna have to deal with them. Ain't that something? Yeah, he told that you gonna have to deal with them. You know, don't come to me with that shit. Ain't that something? So now, as this part we're going through, because again, you see what Chicago dealing with, seeing this immigration, the migration, they say migrants, right? But they're immigrants or undocumented, right? But then I've said that, you know, for those of us who've been around for a bit, you know how the country used to feel. The country got a little different taste. It's like your grandmother or your mother got a certain type of recipe that she cooked. And the way she do it is good and great every time. And sometimes somebody else is cooking it, and you could tell they ain't using the same ingredients. Well, that's how I kind of feel in this country now, don't it? It feel like the ingredients is changing. Like you got a different taste to it, look like you're using something different. Well, you know it's different when you seen this cat. Now again, for those who have seen the show from last a couple of days ago, I'm just reiterating this because of where we're gonna go, because I got to show you something before we end out about what you don't know about why. Remember, I told you, remember from them coming from Texas. Remember they said that the disinformation that was given that's drawn them in. But I'm going to show you something that I believe this is what's really the call signal. But before we get there, but this cat running for president. Now listen to what he'll say to be president, right? Listen to what he'll say to be president. Listen to this.
Yes. You said you want to deport the children of illegal immigrants.
I said the entire family unit.
You said you want to deport the entire family unit of undocumented immigrants.
Yes.
Entire family unit. So let's just be clear about what you mean by that. So someone was born to undocumented immigrants today. Let's say you're president today. You've implemented this policy. They're adults. They work. They pay taxes in the U.S. They vote in the U.S. Maybe they voted for you.
They shouldn't be voting.
Right now,
Yeah.
under current, under law as it is right now, they vote. You become president. The 25-year-old, 30-year-old that was born to undocumented immigrants, their parents and they themselves are deported to say they're from Venezuela. They all go back to Venezuela.
So I want to give you my full perspective on this issue because I will acknowledge this is a difficult question. And what makes this a difficult question is that many people who are in this country illegally are still good people who came here for a better life for their family, in part because of a U.S. president, that's President Biden right now, that gave a tacit and implicit signal that it was okay for them to come. And I think that that's in many ways not their fault per se. It is the fault of an administration that gave them a wink and a nod and said it was okay to come over, that we have laws, but you don't have to follow them.
Right, but there are
and
many
so that's
that
what makes
came
me
under
empathetic.
the Trump administration as well, and under
many more
Obama and others. There are people who have been living undocumented in this country for a long time.
That's right.
Who have had children, who have grandchildren.
And so I'm using Biden as an example now,
Sure.
but you're right. There have been periods in our history in the last 20 years where we've had ambiguous policy. I want to, however, leave the United States thinking about, similar to the national debt question, on the timescales of history, not on the timescales of tomorrow. And I think the only way we're going to be able to stand as a nation really committed to the rule of law is to behave in a manner that actually means it. So I will not, and this is why I, respectfully interrupted you earlier to say that I will never separate parents from children
Well, you've been very
as a
clear about
deterrent.
that,
But we
of
would
course.
take the family unit and return them to their country of origin as respectfully and
But
humanely
is
as
this a cold
possible.
turkey rip? Like, is it?
It has to
people-
be. But I think that
Okay.
I think that we will provide a path back through legal meritocratic immigration for those who have demonstrated themselves to be law-abiding, contributing citizens of this country.
But to be clear, you're talking about people who only speak English, who have lived in the United States their entire lives, are now going back to Guatemala, Venezuela, to countries that they know nothing about.
So
They
you are
don't speak
picking
the
the
language.
exception rather than the norm in the hard case. But to be frank,
Yeah, but there are
the answer
thousands
includes
of
yes.
these people in the United States.
So I think the right answer is we have to stand for the rule of law. We can't be a nation that says we have these laws, but we somehow turn the other direction to reward the people who broke the law while there are millions more waiting to come here legally through the front door who we say can't come. We can't abide that hypocrisy. And I don't think we can look our kids in the eye and tell them that you have to follow the law if the way our
So
government
people who
itself
right now are
refuses itself
considered
to follow the
American
law.
citizens are no longer under
So
Ramaswamy
I want to be very
administration.
clear about this. I think that birthright citizenship does not and should not apply to the kids of parents who entered this country illegally. And I'll give you an example to make that very clear. No legal scholar believes that the kid of diplomats who happen to be born in this geographic space we call the United States of America, someone's here on diplomatic tenure or a diplomatic visit. Nobody in legal academia, in the courts or otherwise, believes that that kid enjoys birthright citizenship.
No, I understand.
And so someone's here illegally, having broken the law and is not subject to the laws and jurisdiction in the same way, then I think that it is a tenable position for us to take to say that that is also not a birthright citizen guaranteed by the 14th Amendment.
One second here, right? Let me get Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Now look at this here, right? Now I want you to see this. Now I did this on my last show, but again, now this individual here is willing to run as for president and say that he would deport all of those, again, that they were considered as undocumented, illegal migrants or immigrants, right? And for a lot of people hearing that, you would vote for him if that's the position you hold. But I think it's a little hypocritical because you must know who he is, right? Because he's going to lead to what I'm going to show you about what you thought you knew that I'm pretty sure you probably didn't know. For those who already seen the other show, you might be thinking this, well, you've seen it. No, I'm sometimes you get a second part of that too. Now, he says, okay, put that back on the screen. I'm sorry, y'all. You don't need to see that part there. Hold on. All right, because let's look at this, right? Right? You see on your screen there, right? He come from immigrant parents. His parents both were immigrants. And you heard him say that he would deport people that would be both parents would be considered to be immigrants. And the children, he won't separate. Take you all together as one big unit. All right, this is his words. That's what he's saying, right? Now, you may say, well, Mr. Blowman, how are you trying to send with the Chicago? I'm going to show you because I got to show you why they're getting flooded up, why these places of so-called sanctuaries are getting flooded up, right? That's what he said he'd do. He'd take them and then he'd take the whole family and march them right back across the water from which they came. That's what he said he'd do, right? All right, so let's look at this, right? Let's look at this. Now, listen to what he says after this, because now you heard him say the position he will run as a president, the policies of immigration. Then listen to what he says about his own self and his background. And then I'm gonna show you something. We're gonna get to the crux of it. Because you got to get here and I have to use him to get there. So now listen to this. Listen to this.
The original text.
You have an interpretation of the 14th Amendment that you intend to argue, but
Yes.
the reality is, for the last, I don't know, as long as we've had this debate,
and it's
the 14th Amendment has been interpreted in a certain way, so it is going to be a big shock to a whole lot of people.
I will admit it will be. I will admit that this is a few things. It is a difficult issue, and there will be a frictional cost in the short run.
What if these kids
but
have
it's the right
grandkids?
answer for the long run.
What if these children have children? Are their children getting deported as well?
So the way I look at it is, here's the policy we're going to apply, and this is where I've been clear. The kid of illegal immigrants and the families who came here undocumented have to be returned to their country of origin, but we will apply reasonable policies as part of a reformed legal immigration plan to be able to allow the best of them who are contributing to this country and who have otherwise demonstrated themselves to be law-abiding citizens to return through the legal process. But this can't be a system that unfairly penalizes those who are waiting in line to enter this country legally with the illegal migration that we have wrongfully allowed in this country. And I acknowledge that will not be easy. But sometimes we need leaders who do the hard thing, not the easy thing, when we're thinking on the time scales of history and answering who we are as Americans. And part of that is we're a nation committed to the rule of law itself.
And
Everything okay? Okay.
You know, just time, time check. I also wanted to, you've talked about immigration and your own family, right? You and Apurva both
kids of immigrants.
Kids of immigrants. Apurva herself
came as a young age. Yep.
Came at a young age. You've talked about your mother's experience with the citizenship test. You've also talked about having something similar for folks who graduate high school in order to vote, having a civics test similar to what your mother took. You've lately been talking on the campaign trail more about your mother than your father, and some folks have been asking questions, and I just want to be super clear. Did your father also take the citizenship test, and is your father a citizen?
He did not, and that's a choice that he has made for familial reasons, but my mother did. And I think that every immigrant who comes to this country in order to become a full voting citizen has to do the same. And I believe in being consistent about my policies where...
So your father is not a citizen of the United States?
He's not.
Okay. And your mother, when did your mom take the citizenship test? Was it before or after you were born?
After I was born.
After you were born. Okay.
After years of being in this, following the legal process of becoming a naturalized citizen, she followed it through the legal process. And
so
I think
you gained citizenship through birthright then?
Well, but you gain citizenship through birthright citizenship in that sense too, right? I mean, every American. So what I want to do is revive a vision of citizenship where every kid who enjoys...
I'm sorry, just to backtrack. So your father is not a citizen, your mother...
They came to this country legally. They were in this country legally. So my view is any kid who is born in this country of parents who are here legally, that's the scope of where birthright citizenship applies. And I think it's a very simple principle. The 14th Amendment says, subject to the laws and jurisdiction thereof. So anybody who is in this country legally, under the auspices of federal law and under the auspices of U.S. law, here legally, the kid of that person, whether they've been here for 5 generations, I don't know if that's your case or not, whether they've been here for 3, 4, 5 generations.
Too, actually, by the way.
Okay, I didn't know that. But anyone who is in this country legally.
Legally.
Yep.
Legally immigrated to the United States.
So the kid of anyone who's in this country legally, whether or not they're an immigrant, that's the scope of to whom birthright citizenship applies. Now, I favor going one step further with this, though. The step I favor going further with is I think even the kids who are here, whether they're first generation or 6th generation, should have to earn all of their civic privileges by knowing the same thing about a country that we require of legal immigrants as well. I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass the same civics test that every immigrant has to pass in order to become a legal
And we're back. I got a little technical difficulties over here, but we're gonna get through it. We had to go here first, y'all. I got to take you here to take you to the grand finale. Now you heard Vivek Ramaswamy, right? Now, sound like a walking contradiction, right? And he tries to clean that up, right? And is there a difference between legally and lawfully? Are they the same in the way he's saying it? And when it came to his situation, is he no different than what it is happening today? Because she asked him specifically, oh, so your father is not? No, he stands to who he is. He not taking no allegiance here, but he resides here. So I don't know if maybe he a green card is some kind of either permanent resident status or temporary, whatever, something. He under that, maybe. But the mother, he says, took the test. But she said, before you were born? No. After. Okay, keep all that in mind. So then he says, oh, he's a birthright. Okay, right? He gained it through birthright. By being born here automatically makes him to be what? He say that's legally. Okay. Now, as I showed you, he's born in what? 1985. Okay. Again, let me show you again. So he born in where? He's born 1985, right? Let's look at this. See, look at it, right? He born in 1985, right? 1985, you see on the screen there, right? Now, remember both his parents? So I don't know whether his parents were some kind of foreign exchange students. He didn't specify none of that. And his mother doesn't become legal. And then he said, well, she was going through the process. Now, okay, now this is where your history come in. Either you've been around a little bit or you do history, you might know this, okay? And we're going to tie him into, as I'm telling you, he's no different than what they are today. But he's willing to run on the campaign and say he would deport their mama, daddy, and all the children, as he said, pathway back. So let's see something. Let's look at this shit, right? Let's look at this. So what happened in 1986? Did anybody know? In 1986, see right there, Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, right? How about Ronald Reagan? Remember when you heard us say, they went to Trump. You know what Trump did? And they said, well, what about the Biden administration? And then what about before then? Well, it goes back to here because it was this bill that gave them the amnesty. It was Ronald Reagan in 1986 that did the amnesty that was part of this. But it did have some exclusions, specific people, okay? There's some exclusion for certain people and others it applied to. Oh, you may didn't know about that part, right? Right? So there were some provisions in it, okay? Now, when you look at the history in this country, you can go back to I guess you could say the Cuban Adjustment Act. I don't know if maybe y'all ever heard of that. It was signed into law by Lyndon B. Johnson back in 1966. And it gave work authorization permits a lawful permanent residency, which is the green card. Let me say that again. 1966, Lyndon B. Johnson came with the Cuban Adjustment Act because you remember John F. Kennedy had the Cuban crisis. And because of some stuff that was happening there, a lot of Cubans were coming here to the United States. What Johnson did when he created this bill, it gave them 1 year to be able to have access to be Cuban natives to be able to come here. So the Cuban population that was in the United States at the time was around about almost 80,000. And then it grew between 1960 to 1970 to about almost 450,000 Cubans. Okay. This was Cubans who were exiled and they sought asylum in the United States. Again, seeking asylum in the United States. Okay. A lot of this was surrounded by the Cuban Revolution that was happening there. They were having the termination of the diplomatic relations between the two countries back in about 1961. Okay. And then there was two more additional events that happened there too. It was also the migration of those from Cuba that was coming here to the United States. They called that the Mariel Boat Lift back in 1980. The Mariel Boat Lift. Okay. That lasted about 6 months. And then about 125,000 Cubans came to Florida, on the shores of Florida at that time. Around about 95, then you had Clinton, and the Clinton administration had created a bill called the Wet Foot, Dry Foot Policy. Let me say that one more again. In 1995, you have Bill Clinton created the Wet Foot, Dry Foot Policy. This had to do with the response to Fidel Castro when he had did the declaration that no Cubans would be confined from leaving the island by boat. So they ended up making a legislation that was going to enable Cubans who could successfully reach the United States. Okay. And so once they got to the United States soil, they could apply for legal status. Remember what Ramaswamy said, legal, right? Legal. Now pay attention to that, right? But is it really about that? But this is in 66, now 95. But see, the 95 part has got something else that I'm going to give you the term. You're going to know what that is, but you didn't know how they applied it. I'm going to show you something. So again, those who were coming from Cuba that came here to the United States, but if they got intercepted, they would be repatriated back to Cuba. So in 2017, you got Obama did some kind of diplomatic relations with Cuba. That's why a lot of y'all can go to Cuba. They seen where Jay-Z and Beyonce end up going over to Cuba, right? Because it was what Obama had did, okay? And so that's how you're getting set up in 66 with the Cubans setting it up. That's the ordeal with them. Now, the thing that's happening with Reagan, there's something else that's happened that's manifesting itself, okay? Because again, you got Cuba 61. That's going to be the beginning where they start making this legislation. John F. Kennedy, and again, the overthrow of the Bay of Pigs, right? If you know the history about that. Then you got the nuclear crisis. And again, you got, okay, so that's that whole ordeal happening with that. Again, you can go look at the Cuban Adjustment Act in 1966, right? And you'll see all that. Now, I got a message here. Let me get this message. Hold on a second right here. That's what Scarface was really about. Okay, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he ended up getting over in Miami, right? Oh, that right, exactly. Right. It was based on at least the screenwriting and stuff was based on that, or the story itself could have been, right? So that's how you get the Cubans in here. Then you know it was about the dark skinned ones not coming, only the light ones, and a whole bunch of nonsense. There's a lot of stuff going on. But this is the kind of stuff that we must be astute on, because we can see how this stuff is going to fruition. Now, I'm just giving you a little backdrop of that, because remember, this cat is running for president, and I'm giving you a backdrop to take you to the origin of when they started when they're talking using this asylum seeking and so forth. That's going through the Eisenhower, going through Lyndon B. Johnson, going through, Kennedy. It's Eisenhower, Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson. Then it gets to Clinton. No, it's Reagan, then Clinton, then Obama, right? Now, Obama does something, and this is what's still prevalent today, but they done kind of like rewrote it. Now, I'm going to tell you what that is. You might already know what that is, right? Let me show you something. Let's see if I got that up here. Because you know how they bringing them from Texas into New York and Chicago, because why? It had to do with something. Let's see where it's at. Hold on one second, y'all. Give me 1 second. It's hiding from me right now. I'm going to pull this up. There you go. Okay. All right. So let me show you this, right? Federal judge declared DACA illegal again. Issue likely to be decided by the Supreme Court. So DACA, okay? DACA, you done heard of DACA before, but what is DACA? Do y'all know really what DACA is? You think DACA is about children, don't you? You think DACA is about children. DACA was passed June 15, 2012 by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And according to the bill, it was talking about how certain people who came to the United States as children and met several guidelines. Keep this in mind. Now, what did it say? As children, right? Listen to the verbiage, but pay attention. Request consideration, they call it the deferred action for a period of 2 years. It's called deferred action. And this deferred action will be subject to renewal. Now, remember, wait a minute, they said children. Now, what child gonna know to go, and who's in care of the child to go back and renew the legislation? Who's the child? And is this what they mean by that? Really? And then listen to this. And also eligible to request work authorization. Let me say that one more again. Also eligible to request work authorization. I thought you said this is children. The deferred action is exercise of the prosecutor discretion to defer removal action. So those who prosecuting that have the right to defer it when they're ready to do the remove. You see, as the senior screen said, DACA, they went to the Supreme Court 3 times. What happened in Texas is several states decided to sue and say they didn't want that. Technically, they won, but they're not going to really promote that. So Texas get to take theirs, and you call yourself sanctuary city? Here you go. That's how this is happening, right? That's how that's happening. But wait, there's more. Wait, there's more. The individuals for a certain period of time, okay, these are deferred. Okay, so check this out. Now check this out now. Check this out. Listen to the criteria. Remember I said about the guidelines. Were under the age of 31 as of June 15, 2012. Let me say that one more again. To qualify for DACA, under the age of 31 before June 15, 2012. If you were born after June 1691, you can qualify for DACA. Now you see why certain ages of them that's coming here? The beacon went out. Now those who come to the United States before reaching 16 qualify. Those who continuously reside in the United States since they've been here since 2007 to the time of them filing could redo it. Those who are physically present in the United States of June 15 of 2012 from the time they were filing, they can be in it. 31. So somebody born in 81. So now, remember when you heard Ramaswamy said that his people were legal? No. What happened is the grandfathering. They grandfathered it. It got grandfathered to 1981 and covered those from 81 forward, which he fell under. That's his legal he's talking about. Technically, he wouldn't be able to because his parents, again, you heard him say it, he wouldn't. But as a DACA baby, he gets to use that. And now you see how you see in certain age groups that you see in, if they from born in 81 up, is it 31? I thought they said children, but you didn't know it was 31. Yeah. So just imagine that. The only criteria you need is to be 31, born by 1981 up. You think they all ain't trying to get up in here? That's why you seeing what's the name saying when he get in, he trying to destroy all that. Because he said, whoever created that, remember what he said. Yeah, he said that's what this is, right? Did you know that DACA was about just children? Go look it up. You'll see it. So now that makes sense why you seeing the floodgates is because they extended it. And then didn't you just hear the other day that Joe Biden and them extended TPS, which is what? What is that again? The temporary, the temporary one, temporary protective, They just extended it. Some of them got to 20, 25. Some of them go up to a certain amount of next year to 2024. And so they all running in here. And because of that legality of that and them part of the international game, you cannot deny them. Now, question is, any of y'all see my video called The Pope's Letter to Obama or The Pope's Letter About Black People? Most of the people that's coming here, what religion do they practice? I'm just wondering, I'm just asking a question. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's how, if you go back and you hear that and understand that, and that was done, that was also done, I think was 2011 or 12, the Pope's letter to Obama and the administration. So you wonder, well, how the hell the Pope can, if he calling rank and he pulling it, how can he take over something? Okay. All right, y'all I got me, see? Hold on. Let me put this up here. I'm the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. If you don't know why, you don't think it ain't of no importance, you don't think you ain't learned nothing, you ain't heard no history, you can't take what I said and go look and see for yourself, you ain't gotta believe nothing I say. Go look and see what I said. Huh? I do the works. You understand? And you see why. So again, that's what that is, y'all. So that whole thing is predicated on the way that thing has been constructed and written. It's got American Idol call casting inside of it. So everybody, instead of them saying disinformation, they're saying that the cartels did it. It's that thing called DACA. It's that thing called DACA. And so it's being spread all over. Come one, come all. You born in 81, and how about this? I probably don't even got a birth certificate. So anybody could, I see. You know what I'm saying? C. 1981, C. Huh? You understand? So now you see why it's all piled up. Makes sense? Because they said probably seek asylum and refuge, but they said no, ain't none of that. So what is it then? Oh, everybody find it out because everybody done got in, calling back, hey, come. They're gonna give you a job, you're gonna get housing, you're gonna get a car, you drive Uber, they got free food. And no one care about those who already been here. So you have to say, who doing this? Is it Mortimer and them? Or is it somebody else? I don't know. Y'all have to be the judge of that, right? So again, this has been another Mr. Blows Your Mind show. We're the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. We do the news and we touch on the topics that nobody else do. Not because we trying to be some kind of shit starter, but somebody got to be a watcher on the wall. So all right, we have designated our show to be that. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you who came here, watched tonight's show. Appreciate you coming by, giving that like, share. Hopefully you might even donate a little bit to the show. We appreciate that and all. So I might be back on again another day, just in case y'all didn't know. So again, I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this has been another We Up Report. Also, I have another channel. It's called We Up Report, WeUpReport. Go over there, subscribe, help me to get 1,000. Some way that I get back into the money game with another channel, and I'll do some stuff a little bit more daily. I got the time right now to do it. So, appreciate that once again. And to the next show, y'all. And to the next show.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions. behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.